"Please stop coming over, father." At that shout, the chopsticks slipped from my hand and hit the floor. In my daughter's kitchen, the warmth of soybean stew was gone. Only cold air lingered. My husband's eyes were red again. And seeing that look was the hardest part for me. I couldn't tell if it was shame or sorrow in his trembling gaze. That night, I hid a small recorder inside his coat pocket. I held my breath, trembling, but I had to know the truth. What was really happening in that house, let me tell you now. You're listening to Silver Story Tree, where the voices of life's late chapters gently bloom again. Subscribe, like, and turn on the bell to hear more heartfelt stories that grow with time. The sound of heavy rain pounding the market alley filled the air. I was doing the last of the dishes in the kitchen of our snack bar. Our shop, tucked deep inside Guangzhou Market in Suwon, always made me worry about leaks from the ceiling when it rained. That day was no exception. Between the flickering sounds of the electric sign threatening to go out, I heard the front door open. "I'm back," my husband's voice came out lower than usual. I wiped my hands and turned around. Park Sung-ho, my husband, stood there in his black coat with his shoulders slumped. Water dripped from his rain-soaked coat. It takes about 30 minutes by taxi from Guangzhou Market to our daughter's place, not nearly long enough to get this drenched. He must have walked through the rain for quite a while. Without answering, my husband took off his coat and draped it over the back of a chair. At that moment, a clink rang out as a spoon hit the bowl on the table. His fingertips were trembling. It was strange. Normally when he came back from our daughter's place, he'd start bragging about his grandchild right away, but that day was different. I deliberately kept my voice light. "Did you eat?" My husband nodded briefly. I ate, but his eyes were red. My heart sank when I saw him like that. Something's wrong, the thought crossed my mind. He slowly took off his shoes and went into the room. His back looked more hunched than usual. I knew his back wasn't good from 30 years of driving a taxi. But that day it seemed especially bent. I watched my husband enter the room and returned to the kitchen. The pot of anchovy broth was bubbling away. Steam rose and the familiar smell stung my nose, but that day, the smell felt strangely unfamiliar. I turned off the heat and looked out the window. The neon signs were blurring in the rain. The market alley signs looked hazy through the wet glass. The television in the corner of the snack bar was showing the evening news. The announcer's voice drifted over. A caption appeared on screen: "Beware of property disputes involving the elderly." I stood there blankly, staring at that caption. I don't know why that particular news story had to air at that moment, but something about it pierced my heart. I went to the living room where my husband sat on the sofa. He was holding the remote with its blue light on, but he wasn't changing channels. He just stared blankly at the screen. I approached carefully and asked, "Did something happen?" My husband shook his head. Nothing happened, but his eyes told a different story. They weren't as clear as usual. Then my husband muttered something. "Let's not go there anymore." To Da-Rim's place. I was shocked. It was the first time since we'd been married that I'd heard him say not to visit our daughter's house. Our daughter Da-Rim was raising her child alone after her divorce, and my husband always worried about her. He wanted to see his grandchild too. For him to say we shouldn't go there, I wanted to know what had happened. My husband stood up without a word and went into the room. I didn't follow him. Instead, I stayed in the living room, lost in thought. When did it start? When did my husband start getting this depressed every time he came back from our daughter's place? I counted on my fingers. It seemed to have started about a month ago, or maybe 2 months ago. At first I thought he was just tired, but lately, every time he came back, his eyes were red and he talked less. I walked to the window. The rain beat hard against the glass. Tap, tap, tap. The rhythmic sound pounded in my chest. I suddenly became certain that something was going wrong. It wasn't just a hunch. A person's eyes can't lie after 30 years together. My husband was hiding something. I went back to the kitchen and looked at the coat my husband had taken off. That coat draped over the chair felt strangely heavy. I picked it up to hang it on the coat rack. But then it happened. The inside pocket swung heavily. Something seemed to be inside. I froze for a moment. I wanted to check the inside pocket, but I didn't. It wasn't my nature to rummage through my husband's things. But that night, I couldn't sleep. My husband's red eyes, his trembling fingertips, and that heavily swinging coat pocket. Everything circled in my mind. The sound of rain didn't stop all night. I stared at the ceiling and thought, I need to watch more carefully starting tomorrow. I was certain something was going wrong. At 5 in the morning, I always woke up. That was the habit of someone who'd run a snack bar for over 30 years. That day was no different. I opened my eyes before the alarm went off. When I went to the kitchen, darkness still lingered. I turned on the light and started preparing ingredients. I chopped onions, trimmed green onions, and put water in a pot for anchovy broth. The sound of the broth boiling filled the kitchen. The bubbling sound was familiar. My husband usually got up around 6, but that day he came out early. I turned around to see him sitting on the living room sofa. His eyes were open, but his expression was blank. He looked like he'd been up all night. I poured a glass of water and handed it to him. My husband took the water without even saying thank you. That look was unfamiliar. Normally he would have at least said thanks, but that day he didn't. After finishing the water, my husband started rubbing his knees. On nights after visiting our daughter's place, he always massaged his knees like this. He said they hurt. I took out some pain relief patches and handed them to him. My husband silently took the patches and applied them to his knees. Watching him, my chest felt tight. I wanted to ask something, but my mouth wouldn't open. My husband's expression was too rigid. At 8 in the morning, the market started getting crowded. Guangzhou market bustled with people from early morning. I opened the snack bar door and greeted customers. Regular customers came in one by one. 1 serving of tteokbokki. Please, wrap up 1 kimbap. Those familiar orders continued. I kept my hands busy making food. But part of my mind kept going to my husband. My husband sat in front of the cash register. He should have been chatting with customers as usual. But that day he was silent. When customers handed him money, he just took it. His greetings were brief too. Several regular customers who noticed asked me, "Is your husband feeling unwell?" I smiled and answered, "No, he's just a bit tired, I think." But inside, my worry grew. After lunch around 2 in the afternoon, our neighbor, merchant Zhang Mal, soon stopped by. Mal soon runs a side dish shop inside the market. She's around my age, and we've known each other for a long time. Mel soon ordered a plate of tteokbokki and looked at my face carefully. Then she said something. "Yoonghwa, why does your face look so dark these days?" I tried to smile, but I felt my eyes getting moist. Mel soon was perceptive. She looked at me with an expression that said, "Something's going on," but didn't ask more. I handed Mal soon her tteokbokki and thought to myself, I'm embarrassed too. I didn't know what to say. My husband acts strange after visiting our daughter's place. It seemed too vague to say that. It might have just been my mood. But my intuition had never been wrong. I knew that. We closed the shop after 6 in the evening. My husband and I cleaned up in silence. We washed dishes, mopped the floor, and organized ingredients. The whole process was quieter than usual. My husband still wasn't talking. I didn't try to start a conversation either. That's how silence filled the space between us. We went home and ate dinner. I made soybean paste stew, took out kimchi, and cooked rice. It was an ordinary dinner. But the atmosphere wasn't ordinary. Even while eating, my husband's eyes seemed to be somewhere far away. Watching him like that, I thought to myself, what happened? What did he hear from our daughter? I took out my phone and opened the photo album. There were no recent family photos. The last one was from Lunar New Year last year. In that photo, my husband was smiling. Our daughter was smiling, and our grandchild was smiling too. But what about now? My husband wasn't smiling anymore. Especially not after coming back from our daughter's place. I went to the kitchen and took out a knife. I put radish on the cutting board and started slicing. Thwack, thwack, thwack. The sound of the blade hitting the cutting board came quickly. But my mind was slow. I had no sense of what to do or how. Should I just wait? Or should I ask directly? I was conflicted. That's when I heard my husband's murmur. I was a parent too. I stopped cutting. My husband's voice was low and trembling. I turned around, but my husband was still sitting on the sofa watching television. It was just a murmur to himself. I mulled over what those words meant. I was a parent too. It sounded like words mixed with regret. I started cutting again. After finishing the radish, I put it in the refrigerator. Then I went to the living room and sat next to my husband. He was still watching television. I looked at my husband's hands and thought, those hands held a taxi steering wheel for 30 years. Now he's retired from taxi driving and helps with the snack bar. But lately those hands often trembled. I made a decision. I can't just wait. I need to take action. But how? That's when my gaze went to my husband's coat hanging on the rack. The black coat. The coat that had been wet in the rain that night. And the inside pocket that had swung heavily. I slowly stood up and walked toward the coat. My hand went to the inside pocket. And I lightly touched inside. Click. I felt a small sensation. Something was there, like a small device. I flinched. What is this? I didn't check my husband's coat pocket secretly. I couldn't do that. Instead, I thought of another way. I worried for several days. I lay awake every night. Should I uncover my husband's secret or not? But the conclusion was clear. I needed to know. I couldn't leave things as they were. I couldn't just watch my husband struggling more and more. So I made up my mind. One afternoon, I finished organizing the market early. And went to an electronics store. It was near Suwon Station. I looked for a small voice recorder there. When I entered the store, a young clerk greeted me. What are you looking for? I said carefully. A voice recorder, a small one. The clerk showed me several options. I chose the smallest one. It was about the size of a thumb. The clerk explained how to use it. Just press one button and recording starts. The battery lasts about 2 days. I nodded while listening, but then the clerk added something. To stay within the law, only record your own conversations. When I heard that, my heart sank. I realized what I was about to do. On the way home, I held the recorder in my hand. It was small and light, but the weight felt heavy. Should I really use this? I kept wondering, but I remembered my husband's red eyes. I remembered how my husband wilted every time he came back from our daughter's place. I decided again, I have to do this. That night, after my husband fell asleep, I quietly got up. I went to the living room and took my husband's coat from the hanger. My hands trembled. I opened the inside pocket and put in the recorder. Then I set the date. I pressed the button as the clerk had shown me to put it in standby mode. Now when he put on the coat, recording would automatically start. I hung the coat back on the hanger and returned to the room. I pulled up the blanket and lay down, but sleep wouldn't come. It pained me that I was suspecting my husband right now. But at the same time, I wanted to know the truth. This contradictory feeling tormented me. Even with my eyes closed, sleep wouldn't come. I just stared at the ceiling. A few days later, my husband said he was going to our daughter's place again. I answered as usual, okay, come back soon. But inside I was tense. Would the recorder work properly? What if he found it? I pressed taxi fare into my husband's hand. Come back quickly, before the soup gets cold. My husband nodded and left. After my husband left the house, I started pacing the market alley. I'd opened the shop but couldn't respond properly even when customers came. My head was full of thoughts about my husband. What's happening at our daughter's place? Is something wrong? I kept checking my watch. Time moved so slowly. 2 hours later, my husband returned. Sure enough, his expression was dark. I pretended to greet him cheerfully. You're back? Did you eat? My husband answered briefly. I ate. Then he went straight into the room. I looked at the coat my husband had taken off. My heart pounded fast. I took the coat to the storage room, not the bedroom. And I took out the recorder from the inside pocket. The small screen showed the recording time. 1 hour and 40 minutes. I took a deep breath. Then I pressed the play button. At first I only heard car sounds and wind sounds. The sound of riding in a taxi. Then the sound of opening a door. The front door. I heard my daughter's voice. Dad, you're here? My husband's answer. Yeah, I'm here. Then footsteps entering the living room. For a few minutes it was everyday conversation. Talk about the grandchild, whether he'd eaten. But then the mood changed. My daughter's voice dropped a bit. Dad, did you think about what I mentioned last time? My husband's answer wasn't audible. He seemed to be hesitating about something. My daughter spoke again. You just need to stamp it. It's simple. I listened carefully. Stamp? What stamp? And the words that followed. It's a gift transfer contract. To transfer the house and savings under Dad's name to my name. I felt like I stopped breathing. A gift transfer contract? Our house? Our savings? My daughter continued speaking. If you need nursing home costs later, I'll use it. Right now I'm having such a hard time. The word, nursing costs, came through clearly on the recorder. My hands trembled. I almost dropped the recorder. Nursing costs? When my husband didn't even need nursing care. I kept listening. I heard my husband's voice. Darim, that's. My daughter cut him off. Dad, please decide quickly. I'm really struggling. The recording didn't end there. It continued, but I couldn't listen anymore. I turned off the recorder and sat down on the storage room floor. Tears came. I was angry. Our daughter was after our assets, under the pretext of nursing costs. And my husband couldn't refuse. I covered my mouth with my hand. I couldn't cry out loud, in case my husband heard. I wiped my tears and stood up. I put the recorder deep in my bag, and I hung the coat on the hanger, as if nothing had happened. But inside me, everything had changed. Now I knew why my husband had been struggling so much, why his eyes had turned red. Our daughter was pressuring him, and my husband had been enduring that pressure alone. I went to the living room and looked at my husband. He was sitting on the sofa. I spoke as usual. What do you want for dinner? My husband nodded. Anything. I went to the kitchen and started cooking rice. But inside I had decided, I can't leave this as it is. Now I need to act. The next morning, I didn't open the snack bar. I told my husband I'd take a day off. My husband looked puzzled but didn't ask. I left the house alone. I headed to the Gwanzan District Community Center in Suwon. The community center was crowded with people on a weekday morning. I went to the information desk and asked, "Where can I get welfare counseling?" The staff member pointed to the second floor. I went up the stairs. I saw a sign that said Welfare Counseling Office. I opened the door and a female staff member was sitting behind the desk. "Hello, I'm Choi Bo-ra. What brings you here?" the staff member asked with a bright smile. I sat down in the chair and spoke. My husband seems to be under pressure from our daughter to transfer assets to her. Bo-ra's expression became serious. "I see. Please tell me more." I explained what I'd heard on the recorder. The gift transfer contract, nursing costs, our daughter's pressure. I laid it all out. Bo-ra nodded as she listened. Then she pulled out some papers. "We get many cases like this these days. We receive several reports a month about suspected elder financial exploitation." Bo-ra showed me materials. Cases where children made economic demands from parents, under the pretext of nursing or caregiving. Looking at those materials, my chest felt tight. We weren't the only ones going through this. Bo-ra said, "First, you need to secure more evidence. And it would be good to consult with the Legal Aid Center." Legal Aid Center? I'd never heard of it. Bo-ra explained. It's a place that provides free legal consultation, especially for cases like parent asset disputes. Specialist lawyers provide counseling. I nodded. Then how do I make an appointment? Bo-ra wrote down a phone number. If you call here, you can make an appointment. I left the community center and immediately called the Legal Aid Center. I made an appointment for consultation. Fortunately, they had time in 2 days. I set the appointment and hung up. Then I returned to the market. When I arrived at the snack bar, my neighbor Mal soon was waiting. "Young-hwa, why didn't you open today?" I smiled and answered, "I had something urgent to take care of." Mal soon looked worried. "Is something wrong? Are you okay?" I shook my head. "I'm fine. It'll be resolved soon." But Mal soon didn't let me go. She came inside and sat down. Then she spoke seriously. "Young-hwa, I know from experience once you make a gift transfer, it's hard to reverse. You can't carelessly stamp documents." I was startled. How did Mal soon know? Mal soon continued. "A friend of mine went through this. Her son said he was starting a business, and asked her to transfer the house title. Said he'd pay for nursing care. But after she transferred it, the son sold the house. The parents had nowhere to go." I felt chills down my spine listening to Mal soon's story. "Did that really happen?" Mal soon nodded. "Of course. These things happen a lot these days. You can't trust just because they're your child, especially with money matters." I took Mal soon's words to heart. You can't trust even your child. Those words stuck in my chest. That evening, I looked through my husband's hospital appointment records. My husband went to the orthopedist regularly because of his back. Looking through the appointment records, I discovered something strange. In recent months, there were records of our daughter going to the hospital with my husband. I asked my husband, "Did Rim go to the hospital with you?" My husband hesitated briefly. "Yeah, she just said let's go together." I didn't ask more, but inside, my suspicion grew. Why did our daughter suddenly start going to the hospital with him? Did she want to ask the doctor something? To bring up nursing care? I listened to the recording file again. Listening a second time, I heard more. My daughter's voice said, "Dad, I also looked into nursing home spots. There's a good place." My heart sank. She'd even looked into nursing home spots? When my husband didn't even need nursing care. I stopped the recording and thought. This wasn't just economic pressure. Our daughter was planning to send my husband to a nursing home and transfer the assets to her name. I was angry. At the same time, I was sad. I couldn't believe our daughter could do this. I waited for the legal aid center consultation appointment. 2 days felt too long. But I had to wait. I needed lawyer Kim Tae Ho's advice. I couldn't explode emotionally. I needed to gather more evidence. That night, I listened to the end of the recording file again. I heard my husband's trembling voice. "Rim, what if Yoonghwa finds out?" My daughter's answer was cold. "Mom doesn't need to know. Only Dad needs to sign." Tears came. My husband had been worried about me. Our daughter was trying to exclude me. I turned off the recorder and opened the window. The night air was cold. The lights of Gwansan Market sparkled in the darkness. I looked at those lights and made a vow. I won't stay still anymore. I need to protect my husband. I need to protect our family. 2 days later, I finished the legal aid center consultation and returned home. Lawyer Kim Tae Ho had been clear. The evidence was sufficient, but he told me not to respond emotionally, to calmly verify the facts. I took those words to heart. No emotional explosions. I need to stay calm. That afternoon, I made a decision. I needed to meet our daughter directly. I decided to go to our daughter's place without my husband knowing. I told my husband I was going to meet a friend from the market. My husband nodded without suspicion. I put the recorder in my bag and left the house. Our daughter lived in Yongtong-gu, Suwon. It was about a 40-minute bus ride from Gwansan-dong. I rode the bus and looked out the window. Raindrops ran down the window pane. It was raining again, just like that day. The day my husband came home in a wet coat. When I arrived in front of our daughter's apartment, my heart was pounding fast. I pressed the intercom button. A ding-dong sound rang out. After a moment, I heard my daughter's voice. "Who is it?" I answered in a low voice. "It's me, Mom." Silence flowed through the intercom. Then click, the door opened. I took the elevator up to the 12th floor. I rang our daughter's doorbell and the door opened. Our daughter stood there. Her expression was stiff. "Mom, why so suddenly?" I took off my shoes and said, "Can I come in?" Our daughter silently stepped aside. I entered the living room and there were documents on the table. I looked at those documents. It was a copy of the gift transfer contract. And I also saw a seal case. I took a deep breath. As the lawyer had said, calmly, I needed to suppress my emotions. Rim, open the window. I pointed at the window. When our daughter opened it, the sound of rain came in. I sat at the table and asked, "What is this?" Our daughter didn't answer. I picked up the documents. Gift transfer contract. Content about transferring the house and savings under my husband's name to our daughter's name. Our daughter spoke. "Mom, this is a safety fund for Dad's nursing care. To use for hospital costs later." I shook my head. Preparing for nursing care is one thing. That's right. But a gift transfer is pressure. They're completely different. The color drained from our daughter's face. I took out the recorder from my bag. Our daughter's eyes widened. "Mom, what's that?" I pressed the play button. The recording flowed out. "Dad, you just need to stamp it. It's simple." It was our daughter's voice. And the words that followed. I looked into nursing home spots. "Mom doesn't need to know." Our daughter covered her face with her hands. "Mom." I stopped the recording. Rim, tell me honestly. What's going on?" Our daughter stayed silent for a long time, then started crying. The sound of crying filled the living room. "I'm trying to survive too, Mom." Our daughter said in a trembling voice. "I have so much credit card debt. After the divorce, raising a child alone. Taking out loans, rolling over credit cards. I have to pay for the child's academy fees too. Listening to my daughter's words, my heart ached. I didn't know our daughter was struggling so much. But even so, I continued, this crosses the line. Pressuring your father isn't right. Our daughter looked up. Her face was covered in tears. I know, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry, but I didn't know what to do. I held our daughter's hand. Let's find a solution together. Not by doing this secretly, but by talking as a family. Our daughter nodded while sobbing. I took out my phone and called lawyer Kim Tae-ho. The dial tone rang. Mr. Kim, it's me, Lee Young-hwa. I'm with my daughter right now. Kim Tae-ho's calm voice came through. Is that so? You did well. I'll explain the alternative of a property management power of attorney that I mentioned. I switched to speakerphone, so our daughter could hear too. Kim Tae-ho explained. Instead of a gift transfer, there's a way to use a property management power of attorney. While the parents are healthy, they manage it themselves, and later when it's really necessary, the children can manage it instead. Transparently, our daughter blinked and listened. And there are separate solutions for your daughter's financial difficulties. Kim Tae-ho continued. Apply for emergency welfare at the community center. And look into academy fee support programs. You can also get debt restructuring counseling. Our daughter looked up. There are such things? There are. I told our daughter. Choi Bo-ra, the welfare officer at the community center. I'll contact her for you. Our daughter wiped her tears and said, Mom, I'm sorry. I really didn't know. I hugged our daughter. It's okay. Let's work through this together from now on. After hanging up, I looked at our daughter. Then our daughter took out an envelope from a drawer with trembling hands. Mom, this. I took the envelope and opened it. Inside were a seal certificate and documents with a stamp already on them. It was the gift transfer contract my husband had already stamped. I felt like I stopped breathing. He already stamped it. On the way home, I clutched the envelope tightly. The rain was still falling. Rain beat hard against the bus window. I listened to that sound and thought. I couldn't believe my husband had already stamped it. When I arrived home, my husband was sitting in the living room. He was watching television but didn't seem to be really watching the screen. I took off my shoes and entered the living room. My husband turned around. You're back? I nodded and sat on the sofa. I put the envelope on the table. My husband saw it. His expression hardened. I asked quietly, Did you stamp this? My husband didn't answer. Silence flowed. Only the ticking of the clock's second hand could be heard. After a long while, my husband opened his mouth. I'm sorry. I looked at my husband's face. His eyes were reddening. My husband continued. I stamped it myself, not Da-rim. When Da-rim said she was struggling, a father's heart is like that. My chest felt stuffy. I was angry but at the same time felt sorry for my husband. Do you know what this is? Our house. And all our savings transfer to Da-rim's name. My husband bowed his head. I know. But when my daughter is struggling so much, what can a father do? I held my husband's hands. It's not your fault. But this isn't the right way. My husband's eyes glistened with tears. Then what should I do? I've done nothing for my daughter. I just watched when she got divorced. Only sent a little money when she was raising the grandchild. I wanted to do something this time. I hugged my husband. There are things we can do. But not like this. We need to find the right way together. My husband buried his face in my shoulder. Then he cried silently. I stroked my husband's back. We'd lived together for 30 years. But this was the first time I'd seen him cry like this. The next day, I contacted lawyer Kim Tae-ho again. I told him the gift transfer contract was already stamped. Kim Tae-ho answered calmly. It's okay. Even if a gift transfer is already executed, we can examine whether proper procedures and consent were followed. Especially when an elderly person signed without full information. I felt hope. So it's not too late? Kim Tae-ho answered. No. The recording file will be decisive evidence. It's clear your daughter pressured him. Come to the legal aid center this week. Your husband too. I explained everything to my husband. What I heard on the recorder, meeting our daughter, the lawyer consultation. My husband listened with a surprised expression. Then he said, You went that far? I nodded. I had to do it to protect our family. That afternoon, our daughter called. I answered the phone. I heard our daughter's voice. Mom, I went to the community center. Ms. Choi Bo-ra told me various things. I applied for emergency welfare and academy fee support programs. I made an appointment for debt restructuring counseling too. I breathed a sigh of relief. Good job. That's how you solve things one by one. Our daughter said, Mom, I'm really sorry to Dad. I sinned against him. I answered, I know, but if you correct it now, it's okay. Let's do this together. That evening, I also called Choi Bo-ra. I heard my daughter went in for counseling. Bo-ra answered in a bright voice. Yes, I met her today. I guided her through various support options. She might also be able to look into living expense loans. I was grateful. Thank you. You've really helped us a lot. Bo-ra said, Not at all. This is my job. And Young-hwa, you did well. Reaching out for help instead of bearing it alone. I hung up the phone and thought. That's right. Don't suffer alone, ask for help. When night came, my husband said to me, Honey, why did I only worry about our daughter's feelings? Why didn't I think about Young-hwa? I held my husband's hand. It's not your fault. All parents' hearts are like that. It's hard to turn away when your child is struggling. But, I continued, even love needs methods. Giving blindly isn't love. We need to solve burdens through systems, and share love as a family. My husband nodded. Right, let's learn together from now on. Learning even at this age isn't bad. I looked at my husband and smiled. Then a text came to my phone. It was from lawyer Kim Tae-ho. Young-hwa, the 3-minute 47-second section of the recording will be the clincher. That's where your daughter clearly pressures him. Please bring it when you visit the legal aid center. I looked at the text with relief. 3 minutes 47 seconds. Exactly where our daughter said, Dad, just stamp it. Keep it secret from Auntie Young-hwa. I showed my husband the text. My husband nodded. Let's do this properly. For Da-rim's sake too. A week later, my husband and I visited the legal aid center together. It was on the 3rd floor of a building near Suwon Station. It was a small office, but clean and organized. Lawyer Kim Tae-ho greeted us. Welcome. Please come inside. We entered the consultation room where there was a long table. We sat on one side and Kim Tae-ho sat across from us. Kim Tae-ho spread out documents and said, Today we'll prepare a statement of facts about the gift transfer circumstances. Mr. Park needs to write in detail when and under what circumstances. He stamped the documents. My husband picked up a pen with trembling hands. Kim Tae-ho began asking questions. Mr. Sung-ro, did you fully understand the contents of the gift transfer contract before signing? My husband shook his head. No. My daughter said she'd pay for nursing costs, so I thought it would help. Kim Tae-ho wrote it down. Then were you explained what would happen to your assets after the gift transfer? My husband shook his head again. No. My daughter seemed in a hurry, so I just stamped it. Kim Tae-ho nodded. I see. This can be viewed as an information asymmetry issue. I took out the recorder from my bag. I handed it to Kim Tae-ho. The 3-minute 47-second part. Kim Tae-ho played it. Our daughter's voice flowed out. Dad, just stamp it. Keep it secret from Auntie Young-hwa. Let's hurry. Kim Tae-ho stopped the recording and nodded. This is clearly pressure. Kim Tae-ho explained. This recording can be evidence proving. The contract was made under coercion or deception. Especially the part about excluding the spouse. And keeping it secret is problematic. I asked, so can we cancel the gift transfer? Kim Tae-ho answered. First, we can initiate a contract review procedure. Based on lack of voluntariness and information asymmetry. But it's better to resolve this through family agreement than legal dispute. Your daughter seems to understand the situation too. I nodded. That's right. Our daughter is apologetic. Kim Tae-ho suggested. Then how about redesigning it as a property management power of attorney instead of a gift transfer? The parents remain as management principals and later when it's really necessary. Your daughter can help. With transparent account management and shared expense records. My husband asked. Is that possible? Kim Tae-ho smiled and answered. Of course. This is actually a safer method. With a gift transfer, ownership completely transfers, but with a power of attorney. You're only entrusting management. You can revoke it anytime too. On the way out after the consultation, my husband held my hand. Honey, thank you. Without you, something terrible would have happened. I squeezed my husband's hand. We're family. I have to protect us. A few days later, I contacted our daughter. Sweetie, come to our house on Saturday. Let's talk. Our daughter answered carefully. Okay, Mom. Saturday afternoon, our daughter came to our house. She was holding a fruit basket. The three of us sat around the living room table. I took out the documents Kim Tae Ho had prepared. It was a property management power of attorney. Rim, look at this. Our daughter looked at the documents. I explained. Instead of a gift transfer, we'll do it like this. We remain as owners, but you help with management when necessary. Our daughter read the documents and nodded. Mom, this seems better. I was too hasty without thinking. I held our daughter's hand. And we'll find solutions for your debt problem through the community center. With welfare support and debt restructuring. My husband said, Rim, let's consult first next time. Dad wants to help too, but we need to find the method together. Our daughter cried. Dad, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. My husband hugged our daughter. It's okay. Just do well from now on. That day, we created an agreement signed by all three of us. Along with the property management power of attorney, we also established transparent account management rules. We agreed to share expense records every month. And we agreed to always discuss important decisions together as three people. The next week, I visited the community center again with our daughter. Ms. Choi Bo Ra greeted us. You came. I brought the living expense loan application. Our daughter received and filled out the documents. Ms. Bo Ra explained. This is a low-interest living expense loan. You can use it to settle credit card debts. We also applied for the Academy Fee Support Program. She said we could receive 100,000 won per month. Our daughter thanked her and said, I didn't know such programs existed. Ms. Bo Ra smiled and answered, many people don't know, but it's for people who really need it. Don't be embarrassed. On the way home, our daughter said to me, Mom, I was too impatient. I should have told you earlier instead of suffering alone. I patted our daughter's shoulder. At least you know now. Let's solve things together from now on. That evening, I set up a notebook in one corner of the snack bar. I wrote, Family Agreement Log, on the cover. My neighbor Mal soon came by and asked, What's this? I explained, Whenever there's an important family decision, we write it here. Transparently. Mal soon nodded and said, That's right, words should come before stamps. I smiled and answered, Exactly, now I know that. My husband also looked at the notebook and said, I should write down expenses here starting today. So the family can all see. I took out the recorder and put it deep in a drawer. Then I muttered, I hope this was the last evidence. So we never have to use this again. My husband put his hand on my shoulder. We won't anymore. Let's do well together. A month passed. One morning, the rain stopped. After a long time, sunlight brightly lit the Gwanzon Market alley. I was boiling broth in the kitchen. The bubbling sound felt comfortable. Now this sound felt familiar and warm again. My husband sat in front of the cash register, writing something in the family agreement log. I approached and looked. Today's market expenses and household living expenses were written down. My husband looked at me and smiled. This is actually pretty interesting. I can see where the money goes. I put my hand on my husband's shoulder. We're doing well, right? My husband nodded. Yeah, now we don't suffer alone. We talk about everything together. I smiled and went back to the kitchen. Then my phone notification sounded. It was a text message. From our daughter. Mom, Dad, thank you. Thanks to you, I settled this month's credit card payment. With the loan from the community center. The Academy fee support came through too. I think I can start over. Thank you so much. I love you. I looked at the text and my eyes grew hot. I showed it to my husband. My husband also read the text and smiled. Our daughter is doing well. I sent a reply. We love you too. Whenever things are hard, tell us anytime. Let's work through it together. That afternoon, I took out a small box from the storage room. The box with the recorder inside. I looked at that box and thought, this saved us, but I hope we never have to use it again. I wrote on the outside of the box with a pen. Next time, may conversation be our evidence. I put the box on the top shelf. Then I closed the storage room door. Now that was the past. We were living in a new way. Transparently, together. In the evening, market customers came in one by one. A regular elderly customer said, "Owner, your face looks brighter these days. Did something good happen?" I smiled and answered, "We just started communicating better as a family." The elderly woman nodded and said, "That's the most important thing." On the way home after closing the snack bar, my husband held my hand. "Honey, I think we're learning every day. I didn't know there was so much to learn even at this age." I looked at my husband and said, "Love is also a skill. It's not just about giving, but knowing how to protect." My husband asked, "How to protect?" I answered, "Not by eliminating suspicion, but by establishing methods together. Speaking transparently, utilizing systems, respecting each other. That's true love." My husband nodded. "Right, now I understand." When we entered the house, the living room was warm. I turned on the light and sat on the sofa. My husband sat next to me. We looked out the window in silence. The lights of Guangzhou market sparkled in the darkness. It was a familiar scene. But it felt different from before. Warmer, safer. A few days later, our daughter came to our house with our grandchild. It had been a while. Our grandchild saw me, smiled, and ran over. "Grandma." I picked up our grandchild. "Our Kong Min. You've grown so much." Our daughter smiled and said, "He wanted to see you, Mom, so I brought him." We ate dinner together. Kimchi stew my husband made and pancakes I made were on the table. We sat around and ate. Conversation flowed naturally. Talk about our grandchild's school, our daughter's company, my husband's back condition. Everything was comfortable. After the meal, our daughter saw the family agreement log. She smiled and said, "Mom, this is really a good idea. I'll try it at home too." I nodded. Yes, being transparent with small things first. Then we don't suspect each other. After our daughter left, only my husband and I remained. I washed dishes and thought, we've really changed a lot. Just a month ago, my husband was suffering alone. And I secretly installed a recorder. Now we talk about everything together. That night, before going to bed, I wrote in my diary. I picked up a pen for the first time in a while. I wanted to record today. How we got here, what we learned. I wrote this: love is not only about giving, nor is it about eliminating suspicion. It's about establishing methods together. Speaking transparently, utilizing systems, and respecting boundaries. That's the art of protecting love. That day, the door opened, and this time our hearts opened too. I put down the pen and looked out the window. Stars sparkled in the night sky. The rain had completely stopped. It'll be clear tomorrow. I turned off the light and pulled up the blanket. Next to me, I heard my husband's steady breathing. I closed my eyes and thought, we're learning every day. Even at this age, even after living as a couple for so many years. There's still so much to learn. But that's not bad. Rather, it's good. Because we're learning together. The next morning, I woke up at 5 as usual. I went to the kitchen and boiled anchovy broth. Steam rose and the familiar smell spread. Preparing the snack bar, I smiled. Now I know how precious this everyday life is. My husband woke up and came to the living room. A smile spread around his eyes. Those eyes were no longer red. They were clear. My husband said, "Today will be a good day too." I answered, "Of course. Because we're together." When I opened the market door, morning sunlight poured in. Customers came in one by one. The greeting, "Hello," felt warm. I greeted customers and thought, return to daily life. But a different daily life from before. More solid, more transparent. At lunchtime, my neighbor Mal soon stopped by. "Yoonghwa, you really look bright these days. What's the secret?" I smiled and answered, "The secret? Talking to family without hiding anything. That's all." Mal soon nodded and said, "That's the hardest and most important thing." In the evening, my husband was organizing the notebook at the cash register. I approached and put my hand on my husband's shoulder. My husband looked at me and smiled. That smile was genuine. I smiled too. We looked at each other in silence. And we knew that we're okay now. On the way home after closing up, I turned back. The snack bar sign was shining in the darkness. That sign we've kept for 30 years. And that sign we'll continue to keep. I held my husband's hand and said, "We really endured well." My husband answered, "It was possible because you were here." I shook my head. "No, it was possible because we were together." My husband smiled and nodded. Right. Together. That night, before falling asleep, I thought one last time. That day, on that rainy evening, the door opened. The story that began with my husband's red eyes and the heavy inside pocket. But now that door opens differently. Transparently, together. And we learned that love is the art of protection. Everyone, have you ever been hurt by the people you love the most? Through this experience, I learned that even love needs courage and wisdom to stay strong. When we don't speak, misunderstandings grow and our hearts drift apart in silence. But it's never too late. Open your heart, even now. Please share your thoughts and experiences in the comments. If you subscribe and like, I'll bring you more heartfelt stories. And if this story can comfort someone you know, please share it with them. Thank you for listening. Stay healthy and have a warm, peaceful day.